Okay, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me. Can everyone hear me on Zoom? Okay.
Yep, you sound good.
Okay, great. Welcome to the Mountain Land MPO Technical Advisory Committee. Today, the date is October 25th, 2021, 1:31 p.m. This meeting is being held at an acre location at Central Utah Water Conservation District at 1426 East 720 North, building number 2. It's also being broadcast via live stream at mountainland.org/live. My name is Brad Kennison. I'm the chair of this committee. We'll go ahead and get this meeting started. First item of business, do we have any items of public comment that have been sent in?
I've not received any public comment.
No public comment, okay. We will go ahead and move forward with action item number 2 then. That's the approval of the meeting minutes from September 27th, 2021. Any discussion on those minutes? Okay, seeing none, I'll go ahead and accept the motion. Okay. Move to approve from Andy.
Andy Spencer.
Second from Richard Nielsen. Okay, we have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Hey.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, those minutes were approved. We'll go ahead and move to action item number 3. This is a tip amendment from Saratoga Springs on Foothill Boulevard. Bob, I guess you're presenting on this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So thank you everybody for being here. We have a tip modification. So we're talking about the park project. If you're looking, for those of you at home, you may not be able to see this, but so this project was selected in 2020, and it is to build a 3-lane cross section from this is Pony Express Boulevard and all the way down and connect all the way down through here and to connect all the way down here at Lariat Boulevard. If you're not familiar, this is Redwood Road right here. One of the most congested areas in Utah County right now. They received $8.5 million in county funds last project selection process. They're moving forward and with this project, paying for it out of their own pockets to be paid back when the money becomes available, kind of thing. Like I said, a new 3-lane cross section. This road will be part of the collector, part of a larger UDOT facility. I believe it's the northbound version of the collector distributor. If you're driven down 2100 North in Lehigh, or
Just can we soften maybe?
maybe,
Right.
got it. It's likely that this will be a future UDOT facility, not any throwaways being built in conjunction with UDOT. There's actually some money already set aside by the legislature to do an environmental at some point later on down the road for this area. So if this is another view of where the actual road is drawn in, around through here, this is north, is obviously to the right. The new temple is up in this area, just to kind of help you understand. This is Redwood Road as it's going north. So the project is 90%, 95% designed, and shocker, costs are going up. There are some expenses that they are running into. But this project it's going to help big time on Redwood Road, just congestion relief on there. We're predicted that Redwood Road could fail in the next few years. This would remove 8,000 vehicles per day off that. Also an alternate access to this area. If any of you remembers, was it 2 years ago, the big fire that was down in there, and nobody could get out because there was only one road. And this is part of that new Mountain View corridor system that will potentially see
See what the environmentals are.
We'll see what the environmental says, yeah. So the design's basically completed, and there's obviously some things that have added to the cost. Let's see, so some of the pavement section, they wanted to include some separation fabric. They increased the pavement section as well because they're seeing a higher increase in truck traffic due to a gravel pit down in that area. Some utility modifications that need to be done. They're also adding a box culvert to allow for a future trail at the Tickville drainage. Tickville wash is what it's commonly known as, at least I used to know that. And then there's a redesign of the intersection of the Pony Express where it connects with Pony Express to make it more compatible with future demand all the way out to 2030. And then obviously, in case anybody doesn't know it, but the costs of construction are going up significantly. You can see some of the issues with some of these tie-ins. There's greater impacts to drainage, and therefore larger cuts are being done. Jeremy can jump in if there's any, if anybody has any questions on any of these. The box culvert we talked about here to accommodate a future trail through here. You can see.
To clarify, we decided that the box culvert was a bad idea.
Oh, sorry.
Because it would be 500 feet long in the future. So we moved to an open structure on the corner there you can see.
Sorry. Thank you. The tie-in at Lariat. There's some modifications that need to be done there, some grading, right?
So Bob,
Yeah.
question on that one, then maybe go back. So am I to understand, Jeremy, that at one point in time, the development was really busy here along Lariat, and it just kind of stopped in this area, and so was that a roadway that you intended to be built by development, and now it's kind of lagging too slow?
In 2020, that development was active, and we believed that by the time this project came online, that road would be already built. Now we know the development has stopped. There's no active application or anything, and so we have nothing to tie into. We've had to extend our project that 900 feet to the east to tie into existing. Crystal ball, 2020 was a little long. So
Okay.
Great question. The Pony Express Parkway intersection, do you want to maybe, Jeremy, talk about the changes that need to be made there?
yeah, this is probably one of the busiest intersections in our city. It's the main connection for Eagle Mountain residents to get onto Mountain View corridor. So they come east on Pony, they turn north here in the morning, takes them straight to Mountain View corridor, and then in the evening they come down and they turn, right, turn left. So now knowing that UDOT's programmed out through 2030, and we're unlikely to see any future projects, we decided it really would be the smart thing to do would be to make sure that we upgrade this intersection with our project, because we don't want to dump a bunch of new traffic on the south leg of an intersection that's going to fail. So you'll see now we're looking at significant improvements in all four legs to really make this intersection have the capacity to handle the new road and have some life. So you can see there's dual rights, so southbound dual rights, dual left, eastbound, just for the volume we're looking at. So you can see down there some anticipated increases that we have to design into this, otherwise we'll be coming back in 2 years, immediately after the project and already redesigning it. Doesn't seem to be very smart. So.
Yes, and significant increase in capacity there. So this is just a little bit more detail on that specifically. Where the rubber meets the road here is, so the original MAC funding for this project was $8.5 million. They're requesting additional $2.9 million of MAC contingency funds, and we'll get to that in a second. Saratoga Springs local funds has basically $5 million into this project. That's a lot. So the new total project would be $16.3 million. So the question everybody has on their mind is, where does this $2.9 million come from? If you remember the last time we selected projects, we thought we've been seeing projects come in over, and so we, instead of just the regular 10% contingency, We also set aside an additional $15 million of county funds to bridge the gap for these kinds of projects. So that 2.9 million does not count out of the total that we're going to be selecting projects for this coming cycle, right? This is that fifth special pot of money that we set aside, just not for this specific projects, but for existing projects that we thought or we knew or we hoped wouldn't, but probably would come in needing additional funds. And so this is one example of one of those that why we set it aside so we could fill in these gaps. Yes, sir.
Of the 15 million, what's been drawn on so far?
This would be the first. This would be the first piece. So there would be an additional $12 million. And again, it's for existing projects that need additional funds that we did this on purpose. We did it two years ago. We did it last time. And this is what's here. Any other
So
questions?
this is still maintaining the original like 10% that MAG holds in contingency, or is that also being used for this project?
We didn't talk about using the additional, what we probably will do then is take the 10%, original 10%, because that's usually the first 10% that goes out. And so that would be,
900,000.
yeah, 900,000. So that would probably reduce that to about $2 million. It doesn't really matter. It's all basically the same money.
Yeah, it's just. this
Yeah, it's
pocket,
just
that
we could,
pocket, really, right?
we could reduce that. We didn't even talk about the 10% contingency. We have not used that 10% contingency yet, and we can and will use that here. So the totals will all remain the same. It's just the source is basically the same, but a little bit different. So that 15 million will only be reduced by about 2-ish then.
Jeremy, where are you on right away?
We have agreements, verbal agreements with the church, who's the majority of it. They have indicated they will be able to, on this first 3-lane section, work a deal with us where they'll not charge us. And then the other department to the south, we are doing some land trading. So at this point, it looks like we will be able to leverage through development agreement or whatever horse trading to not actually have to pay cash for the right of way. Now, we still, the Full Mountain View corridor that you don't work on, there's still, another 300 foot of right of way. So that, once we cross that bridge in the future, you're correct.
Yeah. Great questions. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Just confirming then with you, Bob.
Yeah.
So if these funds were granted,
Mhm.
none of this money comes out of any of the other cities' contingency funds that are being held.
No,
This is a
so,
separate pot.
well, so what this, let me just briefly step back and remind you how it works. So when we select projects, every project that's selected, we peel off 10% and we set it aside for contingency on all the projects. Last time and the time before that, when we saw these huge jumps in construction costs and the 10% just wasn't cutting it in a lot of places, we said, well, let's peel 15 million off the top and set that aside for an additional contingency that is set aside for existing projects. So it will come out of those two boxes, but it is not money that will come out of future projects, meaning when we select projects next spring, it won't affect the bottom line of those projects. The only place that it will affect the bottom line is that 15 million that is set aside for existing projects to do contingency will be reduced by about $2 million. So we'll be down to $13 million in that pot. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So just to confirm then, so right now I'm on the tail end of my Main Street project,
Sure.
right? It was a $13 million project. So our contingency was 1.3 million
1.3
essentially.
Uh-huh.
So does this pull?
Now, it
out-
won't take that 10% away.
Yeah, it's the other amount.
Yes.
Okay.
You see, every project, project A cannot dip into the 10% of project B.
That's what I wanted to confirm.
Yes, the 10% is always protected until that project either uses it or is closed out. Once it's closed out, then if there's money left in it, it goes back into the pot for selection.
Perfect. Secondly, just a reminder, Jeremy, what's the cross section of this road? Is it a 3-lane road?
It is.
3-lane?
3 lanes. Any other questions? MAG staff recommends approval. This is, we've thought this is a great bang for the buck. It moves a lot of people for in a congested area for how much it costs. We really like this project. There is a proposed motion.
If there are no other questions, I'll go ahead and accept the motion.
I move that we recommend that 2.9 million added to the football project.
Okay, we have a recommendation to move this project forward. Do I have a second? Second by Scott. Okay, we have a motion and a second to recommend that it be added to the 2.9 million be added to the Boulevard project. We'll go ahead and take a vote on that. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Okay, the motion carries then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeremy, just one thing for you, you and I have already talked about that we need to update the interlocal county to reflect the additional money.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, just moving forward, then item number 4 is a presentation by Eric Rasband from UDOT on Utah Valley Express, UVX, before and after experience.
Before, after, and interim, if that makes sense. So there were a lot of questions that happened up on the 4 South light rail line in Salt Lake City about the impacts to traffic. And then the development that occurred along that line, as well as the ridership that system was experiencing. And so knowing that those questions existed, we partnered with MAG, UTA, to hire the University of Utah to do some before and after analysis. So before UVX started, we went ahead and initiated a contract. They collected a bunch of before data, and then throughout the life of the project, they continue to collect data, and we have just want to go over some of the data to this point, or to this point. So this is a 10.5-mile long transit corridor from, in essence, Utah Valley University to Brigham Young University down to the Provo Frontrunner Station. Serves a lot of community, large commercial districts with the mall, both malls actually, in that downtown Provo area. So just some interesting data. The average reduction of traffic along the UVX line was about 2,500 vehicles per day. So UVX was pretty successful pulling cars out of the system. From a private development standpoint, or from an economic community development standpoint, 18% of the vacant land filled in with development of some type. And then travel time was almost a wash. Or signal time.
Can you speak up a little bit? I can't hear you very well.
Thank you. Is this better?
Hope so.
Okay. From a travel time perspective, it really didn't impact the general public very much. I know that Rob Clayton and myself got off of I-15, drove northbound on University Avenue, made it all the way to University Parkway without stopping. So it's been really well. And then, of course, the buses, it being 50% dedicated lanes, they're experienced really good reliability through the system. Some ridership. So this is really the meat and potatoes of the data. Before the old bus system, between 1,800 and 2,000, these numbers are slightly different than the numbers that are in the report. We saw some discrepancies, so we reached out to UTA to gather the data that they have. So the old bus system, about 2,000 riders a day. Pre-pandemic at the height, 12,000 to 14,000 riders a day. During the summer of 2020, we saw that reduction down to the original bus line, about 2,500. Certainly saw some impacts. This spring, 4,000 riders a day, and this fall, we're up to 7,000. Important to note that UVU is only 40 to 60% of in-class today. And of those in-person classes, they have the option to choose to attend in person or online. And so UVU is really not at full in-person sessions. Premium is offering in-person. And another key component is before the pandemic, the bus was running at 6-minute headways. Now it's running at 10-minute. Even with some of those reductions, that 7,000 is a pretty good number. I think that's equivalent to front runner. And the front runner at its height, is my understanding. And then the population change, even with the changes in the pandemic, 3% growth in Utah County in the Provo-Orem area. Student enrollment increased by 6%. And really interesting is parking stalls increased as well. Both at Brigham Young UVU, total of just under 1,500 stalls, and then throughout the entire system, about 3,100 stalls were increased. And then from a air quality standpoint, pretty significant benefits throughout the system daily. I'll go with carbon monoxide, 340 pounds, 85,000 pounds yearly, and 680 gallons with 170,000 gallons of reduction in the air quality impacts. So, any questions? Okay. Yes,
On that parking stall, is that the availability of parking stalls on that, or do they build more?
they built more stalls.
Okay.
Yep.
More stalls where the parks you get on UVU?
No. So the 1,500, that's a combination of both Brigham Young and UVU increased their parking supply total by
It's just a
1,500.
regular parking lot on university.
Yep, yep. And then 3,100, that was just the private development, adding additional parking along the corridor. Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Booyah!
Okay. Any other questions for Eric on that one then? Thank you, Eric. We'll go ahead now then and move to item number 5. Sean Seeger's going to make a presentation about the Utah road and transit costs for trip study.
Thank you, Brad. This is a kind of an update like Eric just provided on one of the joint planning studies that we get to do with our partners at Wasatch Front Regional Council, UDOT and UTA, which was the same funding source for this BRT before and after study. We pool these funds and conduct a bunch of like research and development studies. And this is the product of that effort. This is looking at what do trips cost when we look at road trips and transit trips and different types of transit trips and different types of road trips. Representative Christopherson from the Lehigh area was asking us this question about a year or so ago. And so we put together some money. Wasatch Front Regional Council was the project sponsor, and they hired High Street Consulting. If you advance that slide one. Yeah, click in it. They hired High Street Consulting, which is a firm out of the East Coast, and we looked at how much total government money is going into one of these trips, plus how much private money is going into these trips. So I'm going to try to use the laser here and just show you on this. If we just look at roads and transit, the roads, the scale of the road piece is the entire state of Utah. The scale of the transit piece is just the Utah Transit Authority service area. So just UTA. And we said, well, how much is the public or the government money going into one of those road trips? And on the road side, it's 30 cents a trip. So every time I make a trip, what does that impact? What is the government putting into supporting that trip? And then on the public expenditure for transit, what is transit putting into it? Our sales tax dollars, for example, that goes into transit. It's about $10 a trip. If you look at how much the private expenditure is on the roadway side, the private expenditure would be my vehicle, or Andy's truck and his tires and his oil changes and his insurance, and it's that IRS allowable rate, which I think is what, 58 cents a mile or something like that right now. Probably should be 63 cents a mile now after I filled up last night. So that piece of it is $2.70. So if we add the private expenditure to the public expenditure, we get the total cost for that road trip from the private as well as from the government side. We do look at that on the transit side. If you look at what the revenue is being collected at the fare box, it's about $1 a revenue when we take into account the past programs, the UTA has entered into with the different universities, BYU, UVU, University of Utah, Weber State. So this just gives us one more piece of information. You know, it's not good or bad that the lowest one is the winner. That's not the goal here, because there's certain corridors like UVX where we couldn't build any more roadway capacity. We had to move people from single occupant vehicles onto the bus system, onto UVX. And Eric showed how successful that project was in doing that. So, and we're not trying to have a race to the bottom as to what trip costs the least amount of money. Representative Christopherson just wanted the information, so then we could start to make educated decisions and configurations of our plans in the future. Go to the next one, which is the transit cost by mode. I thought this would be interesting to people. If we looked at, again, per person trips is the road that I like to look at here. So on bus trips, it's about $9 a trip. That's the total cost, meaning the private investment as well as the public investment. Your bus, like UVX, for example, $15. Your rail, $24. Demand response, I believe that's what do they call that, Chad? The paratransit, and maybe also VIA. Some of their VIA demand response services. Light rail at about $9 a trip. Van cool about $10 a trip. Light rail is very competitive. Looks like that's the least cost per trip in UTA system. I imagine that's due to the red line up to the U that Eric was referencing, as well as the blue line ridership. So we get a lot of people in there. And then there's a bunch of other information that that you may be interested in. I'm not going to go through the next 20 slides or so, but we'll send this out to you guys so you can have a copy of this. It's also linked to a spreadsheet. We use the Unified Plan Financial Spreadsheet as kind of an engine to drive this calculation. And if you guys want, you can dig into those and see, oh, is replacement cost covered? Is maintenance costs and operations and everything else covered with each one of these? You can go into that spreadsheet and see exactly what categories are covered in there. But we just wanted to bring this to you guys and have an opportunity to present the research to you. If you have questions or you're interested in it, please come up and talk to me afterwards, or I'm happy to answer any questions right now as well. The other leads from the agencies was Hal Johnson from UTA, Andrea Olson from UDOT, and then also Julie Bjornstedt from Wasatch Front Regional. Can I answer any questions that you guys might have about this piece? Very good. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you.
Yeah.
For kind of heading that up and giving us that update. I don't see that I have any other items of business. I'm sure you're probably going to talk a little bit about
Yes.
what next Monday is, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
So would you bring up that website? So right here it says the next TAC meeting is scheduled for January 24th. That's the next regularly scheduled TAC meeting. But the project idea meeting is January 10th. Get that on your calendar. Mark it all off. It's going to be the MAG sleepover, hang out all day. We'll feed you pizza, and you can come in your pajamas if you want. And we're going to talk through all the project ideas. But project selection process is well underway. I've received a few project idea forms. Big things to know. The draft project ideas are due Monday, by end of business Monday. If you go to the page on the right side here, on every page you click on, there's the view calendar. You can click on that calendar and it'll bring all the due dates, all the dates, everything that's going on up there. So pay attention to that. If you want to go up here is the selection process presentation I did last time, the policy and procedures document. We're still updating that from the changes that were made in our last meeting, but they'll be updated shortly, but there's very little change, just the ones that you guys have already looked at. If you click on project idea here on the left side, and scroll just a little bit, this is where you download the project idea application. Again, we recognize it's a draft. It doesn't have to be super pretty, but we do need to have you give us a project idea form by next Monday, okay? The second thing to know coming up is between November 8th and 10th, right? I believe it is. The Tuesday through Wednesday. That is when you are to set up an appointment with me, Sean, and other MAC staff to review your project idea forms so we can give you the feedback and help you out with those in any way possible. Please contact Melanie and she will schedule that. Contact her sooner rather than later because those times fill up pretty quick. And so if you have a project idea or one project idea or 10 project ideas, you just need to set up one 1 hour meeting for it, not an hour meeting for each one. But call Melanie, get those set up. If you can't make those dates work, we'll work with you, but we'd really like to keep you in those dates if possible. So sign up now. And then going further on, there's the concept report, textbook view, all the information's up there. This should be your home base for project selection. If you have questions, go there. One question I have gotten recently, 2 questions. One is I've had a couple of people say whatever link they used went to the old webpage. I don't know why that is, but we think we have that issue solved. And so if you go to metland.org/project selection, that'll take you to this homepage and will help you out through it. The second question I've gotten is the signature. We do require a signature from either your mayor or your city manager saying, yes, we recognize this is the project that my staff is requesting. You don't have to have that signed for the draft one. If it comes with the final project idea form that is due the 1st of December, that's totally fine. We get it, right? So don't get too worried about that. If you send us one, if it comes with the final version, that's perfectly fine. Are there any questions about project selection? Sweet. Yes, sir.
On the concept,
Yep.
is the UDOT costing form?
We have the most up-to-date version of it that we can up there. Just so you know, if you wanted to download the concept report there, you could, but we're currently in the process of trying to simplify it, kind of trim some of the fat, make it easier for you guys to fill out. So don't dive in too soon with the concept report, filling that out, because we're going to make some changes to that rather soon, and that'll save yourself some time.
My guess is you're not changing the spreadsheet.
No,
just
no.
the-
No, just the concept form where you answer all the questions. We're just trying to get rid of some of the duplication. But the actual, what the questions are asking you, what you're scored upon is basically, it's exactly the same. Okay?
UDOT releases a new sheet, I think every January, is what I read. So we're gonna look at that and see if it changed significantly or not. If it does, then we'll let y'all know. But for now, it's linked to the current.
One last little bit of advice, or if you have a project that is going to connect to or be on a UDOT facility, you know the number one question we're going to ask you when you come in is, well, have you talked to UDOT about it? So if you are looking at a project that does connect to UDOT, give Eric or Matt or whoever the local project manager that you usually work with is, and just talk to them so we want to make sure the correct coordination is happening beforehand. Great. Any more questions on project selection? Air quality, yeah. That's not really any different if you are submitting a project that is eligible for CMAQ. Last year, if you remember, the feds had put together some models so you plug in some information and it spits out what the air quality benefit of it is. We're going to do that again this year. So if you have a project that is eligible for those, we will give you the correct model to use and you'll be able to plug that in. It's really relatively simple to do, nothing different from what you did last time. So, and you don't have to do that for the idea stage, just the concept stage. Great. Any other questions, ideas, thoughts, good jokes? All right, thank you.
Trick or treating Sunday or
Oh, better. Yeah. It depends on what kind of candy you want. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
First is people candy.
So I guess moving forward then, that's the last items on our agenda. Do we have any other business from UTA?
I don't have anything right now, Brad. Thank you for asking though.
Okay, thanks, Ken.
I'll chime in if I can. Can y'all hear me?
Yep, you can.
Good. I'm coming in remotely because I went to the opening of the Trax line to the airport. So all of you that have, that want to travel now by transit to the airport, we got a Trax station back at the airport. We've been under construction for some time, so that really smooths that operation. And there'll be a promotional for some period of time. I'm not sure how long, where you can use your boarding pass as a transit pass when you go on to the Trax line. I want to thank Eric and Sean for their presentations, really helpful data for us looking at transit. But in particular, I want to point out when Eric was talking about UVX, he said we. And the success of UVX is because MAG and UTA and UDOT and Provo and Orem work together. And it's really the secret sauce that made UVX what it is. And look forward to doing that on our projects going forward with the rest of the city. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mary.
Brad, one other quick comment if I can.
Yes, Jim?
We have not received any requests for corridor preservation funds this year. And so we have an untouched fund amount of about $10 million. Please keep that in mind if you have projects, future projects coming up that you will need right of way for or have opportunities to preserve the right of way. Please contact me as soon as you can.
Thank you, Jim. Do we have any other business from UDOT? Eric, you good? Matt? Okay. Well, as Bob mentioned, our next officially scheduled TAP meeting is on Monday, January 24th, but we do also have that meeting that's beforehand to go over the project idea forms. That's the one where Bob is committed to coming in pajamas. So,
My tiger stripe ones.
that's right.
We probably will not be doing any regular business on the January 10th. I just wanted to make that clear. We'll probably just be talking about project ideas. If we had to do some regular business, we could, but it would be the same RPC meeting in February 3rd. So
What time does that meeting start?
9 o'clock, and we will be in this building right here. We'll have, like I said, we'll feed you, lots of caffeine, lots of sugar, and we'll keep you motivated.
So that we keep that on our schedules, Bob. Does that mean you start at 9?
9 a.m.
9 a.m. Okay.
We'll send out an appointment. And I don't think we'll maybe quite go as long as we have in the past, but we'll definitely go past lunch. Usually do.
All right, thank you. Well, if there are no other items, any other items of business? If not, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved, from Richard, okay. I don't know if we need a second.